listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Hello and welcome back to Grave Discussions. This is episode 39, The Possession of Yet Another Teenage Girl. I am your host, Barnabas.
And I am Samael. Welcome.
Yes, we're so glad to have all of you back with us today. We've got a really cool episode lined up. We've got an exclusive interview with the producer of the 48-hour film project in Detroit, Jennifer Gentner, up right after the news. And then we've got our review of The Possession of Hannah Grace right after that. So I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, I want to talk about Hannah.
Oh yeah, we have to. It was something, all right. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. Yep.
Yeah. So we are gonna get into the news, but as always, we have to shout out Sports Radio Detroit, our glorious network, and they have a whole bunch of social media. Where can you find them?
You can find Sports Radio Detroit on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. That's Sports Radio Detroit SRD, not Detroit Sports Radio.
Nope, not that one. So go check them out. You can see what kind of other shows they have on the network, and you can even listen to our episodes. So yeah, go do that. The first news article here is about Terrified. So it's an Argentinian film that was released this year on Shudder. And
guess what?
Yep, it's getting remade
Next year. Can't we just leave foreign films be? At least the first few years are out.
I don't know. I mean, I totally get it because I think that there's a large percentage of Americans that don't like watching foreign films because for some reason they can't read. They become illiterate when they're watching a movie. I don't know. But apparently that happens.
They just don't want to read or maybe they're just bootlegging the movies so they can't get the subtitles,
Yeah, that's possible. But anyway, I think that is pretty true. So, when there's a popular foreign movie out, people want to get it to America right away so that it can make that bank while it's still relevant,
I bet he watched it and he's like, I bet I could put my own little twist on this.
Yeah. Guillermo del Toro is producing this film, so he's still going to have some creativity with it. I kind of almost wish he was directing, but I'm kind of glad he's not at the same time, you know, because I'm not sure how I feel about this being released, not even a year after its initial release, because technically it's a 2017 film, but it just got released, worldwide, or in the Americas on Shudder, so I feel like it's really soon.
Yeah, it's even if they were gonna do this next year, don't tell us this this soon. Just don't say it. Just wait until it's about to come out in 2 months and be like, yo, guess what we did? That way we could just be like, yeah. Now we gotta wait for it next year. All right, let's see what the fuck is different.
Yeah. So normally I would be very skeptical about this. I'm a little more interested just because it's still Toro attached to it. So we'll see what happens. As of right now, I don't think there's any news on when this is going to be out. So just keep your eyes peeled. The next one actually got me pretty peeved. Yeah.
I was chuckling. So the house that Jack built, apparently there was some super fucked up shit in the movie, and it upset people, which I don't know why it would, because look, bad shit happens all the time. Just because someone makes a movie about something that happens,
it's literally
not real.
Fiction.
It's literally fake. You see the fake. There's people with cameras literally recording this, and they got got people just standing around them and shit. You just
giving
don't
directions.
See it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with movies, I guess, is you kind of want to feel immersed in it, but at the end of the day, you should know that it's not real. You don't have to try to censor shit just because you're upset,
Yeah, bro,
the world it's an art form, technically.
The world doesn't revolve around how anyone feels, so
Yeah, well, I mean, you could probably make some arguments for that.
Maybe
but,
the rich people, but
yeah,
no one cares about Janice who got mad about a little kid being killed in a movie. Like,
yeah. So the MPAA is trying to argue with IFC Midnight for showing the film in its unrated director's cut at a like public screening or whatever. So I don't know what they're trying to do, like take legal action or something. But
this movie scarred me, even though I knew I was going into a movie where he kills women and children and men and does terrible things. How dare he do terrible things in an unrated horror movie?
And the stupid part is that, like, all of the people who went to go see it, like, knew ahead of time that it was going to be the unrated version. Yeah. So it's not like they lied or anything like that. I don't know. The whole thing is kind of stupid.
People just want attention.
Yeah. There's been a whole bunch of stuff lately about, censoring stuff in movies, and man, I just don't get it.
That's why I was kind of mad in Halloween when Michael Myers walked past that baby and he didn't, like, bludgeon it with the hammer.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that would have been awesome. They're like, well, in the script, it was just random that he didn't kill the baby. It's like, no, but you decided that it was random, so you decided that he wasn't going to kill the baby. It's like,
yeah,
it's not the same thing.
Yeah, there was something else about, like, not funding films over, like, if the villain has scars on it or something. It's all one big really stupid thing. If you want to talk to us about it, talk to us about it, But we'll move on. The next thing is part news article, part trailer. So I actually haven't gotten a chance to watch some of these, unfortunately. Been super busy, but this one is kind of cool. It's apparently a long lost movie, and it's like being restored, and now there's a trailer for it finally. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, but I think basically this movie called Opera Mortem was lost after like 1973, after it played one time. This kind of sounds like some kind of cigarette burns type thing.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I think someone might have watched that movie and got an idea for this, because a lot of people are saying this is fake, but apparently this movie was found at like some Italian market or something by an adventurer, Giovanni Mele, and there's this whole crazy story behind it. But apparently this movie has been lost forever, and now it's returned, and there's a trailer, and apparently it's supposed to be really fucked up.
Oh, that's cool. I kind of don't want to see it.
Yeah, I'm not. If it's like real, then okay, maybe I'll watch it. But I think there has to be like definitive proof that it's real.
Yeah, not just some guy found like. What if some guy made a bootleg version in his basement and he's like, "Yeah, this is it, gentlemen." Like,
well, it's like a 70s movie, so it's supposed to have like lower quality to it. So yeah, anybody probably could have made it. I don't know.
Fucked up.
We'll keep you guys posted on it, because I'm kind of interested in like seeing what develops, but I don't know if I'm that interested in seeing the movie.
No, I'm not.
But yeah, we'll go into the actual trailer announcements here. So the first one was the biggest for me anyway. Happy Death Day to You. So this is the sequel.
Second one.
Yep.
It's probably gonna happen to another person now, and we gotta see if they figure it out. And this time they won't. Let's
actually,
see if
kind of not.
No.
So it still revolves around the same people and the same girl. It pretty much takes place like directly after the first movie, except like a little bit of time has passed.
What the fuck?
So it starts happening again, and I don't know. It just looks like there's going to be a whole bunch of crazy stuff happen in this movie as well. But at the beginning, it looked like it was happening solely to the Asian guy. Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
He kept like bursting in.
Comes out on Valentine's Day, looks like.
Yep. So it's pretty cool. I wonder if that has any kind of relevance. Like maybe it's a lover this time that is the killer, because it's the same baby face like killer.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. So it's like she never got out of the loop, basically.
But you remember the last time that she killed her friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's probably that murderer from the hospital, because that means she didn't kill him, because she only killed him in one timeline. You know what I'm saying?
I'm calling it for the Valentine's Day thing. It might be her boyfriend or something. I don't know.
Or the dude that she called gay.
Yeah, possibly. We'll see. That one comes out February 14th, 2019. Next up was actually probably my favorite announcement. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Season 2, releasing April 5th, 2019 on Netflix.
Nice.
Yeah. So basically, I think they basically filmed seasons 1 and 2 back to back. So that's why there's a trailer out already.
Still though, we gotta wait till April.
Yeah, but that's not really that bad. I mean, it just came out.
I know.
So usually got to wait like a year, you know.
Well, now it's 4 months because I'm still waiting for Stranger Things.
But we are getting the December 14th Christmas special of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Yeah.
Oh, she's going to fuck around with Nick Scratch.
Yeah, right.
Even though she just dumped, what was his name, Harvey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Poor Harvey.
I like her transformation, though. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm pumped for the Christmas episode.
Disgusting.
I like the show, man. So, yeah. April 5th, 2019. Looks pretty much like, you know, Sabrina is going to be mainly at the Academy of Dark Arts or whatever it was called. And yeah, it looked like she was kind of getting a little close to Nick Scratch, and she was like buddy with those weird sisters.
After she like converted to like Satanism all the way,
she just became like a bad bitch.
Yeah, exactly. She just looked at fucking Nick Scratch, and she was just like a wink, and he was like, "The fuck!" Like,
so,
let's see what happens.
Yeah, I am excited though. I mean, it looks like there was something about casting for the Dark Lord, like the human side, I guess.
Oh,
so shit. It looks like we're gonna progress more on that angle in season 2, I think, anyway. Or it's gonna be a completely different thing. I'm not sure.
They should pick Johnny Depp.
Yeah, actually, Johnny Depp I think would be good.
I'm serious.
You know how many movies he spent like basically fighting against the devil?
Yeah.
Fucking the Ninth Gate and stuff.
Just like give in already, damn it.
I know, right? So yeah, there's that one. I'm excited for it. And then the last one, some of you horror fans, more obscure horror fans, might know about the Blind Dead franchise.
What is this shit?
So it's like a zombie franchise.
Not interested.
I know you're not interested. It started actually back in like the 70s or something though. So it's old school. And it's not exactly zombies. They're actually like the undead versions of like the Knights Templar or something. Because apparently in this world, like, they worshipped Satan and stuff.
Oh.
And there's like a curse. So it's actually kind of interesting. I only watched one of them before, but it was pretty cool. So there's a new one called Curse of the Blind Dead. And it's going to be a whole new director. Because the old director was, I think, some Italian guy or something. So they're crazy, you know?
Yeah, that's blind zombies.
Yeah. Or, I don't know, something
Next.
like that.
Next.
Yeah. So, I guess if you're a fan of that franchise, be on the lookout for it. I'm kind of interested. Apparently, the gore and everything in it is pretty cool. But that's releasing in 2019. There's not a more definitive date. So, all right. That's all the news we have for you guys. Next up, we're going to play the interview with Jennifer Gentner, the producer of the 48-hour film project in Detroit, which just had its horror edition. And they had an award ceremony and everything. It's a great interview, very informative. We talk about the competition, we talk about horror, everything. And I just want to apologize ahead of time because we did it at a coffee shop and not all the audio is that great, but you can still make it out. So yeah, enjoy. Hello and welcome to a Grave Discussions interview. I am your host, Barnabas, and I am joined here today by a special guest. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Okay, well, hello. I'm Jennifer Gentner, and I am the producer for the Detroit 48-hour film project.
Awesome. So we're going to get into kind of what all of that entails and everything, but we just had a award ceremony for the 48-hour horror film project.
Yes.
In Ferndale?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Where was that at?
So we were at Orchid in Ferndale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there last year, and it's a great spot.
Yeah, they always put on such a nice deal for us, so it worked out great.
Awesome. All right. Very cool. So we're going to get into all the 48 and stuff, but first we kind of want to know about you.
Okay.
So what is your like personal background in film, and what kind of ignited your passion in film?
Okay. Well, so I actually studied video production at Washtenaw Community College. I was there for quite a few years, and, kind of taking classes part-time. And then I actually started working in the video lab there as well. And then eventually I moved on and I got my bachelor's degree at Full Sail University.
Oh, okay.
So I studied mostly cinematography. My degree is in digital cinematography. But but I keep going back to producing. I love to produce, so I love getting people together and making movies.
So is that pretty much about producing that you love? Is the people aspect kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I like being able to get, seeing everyone's specialty and kind of getting them together and, just seeing what we can create. I think I'm pretty organized, so, and I feel like when I went to school, I really wanted to go into directing and writing, and then, we always had team projects, right, which everyone hates, and so nobody wants to lead those groups, and so I kind of got thrown into doing it, and I thought, well, hey, this isn't so bad. I kind of like being the producer.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is that kind of what drove you toward being the 48-hour producer, sort of?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm a big 48 fan. I participated in it for like 8 years. And so when I saw that they were looking for a new producer, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was your experience being a crew member and participating in the 48?
So when I was going to Washtenaw, we had a teaching assistant who every week could, he would give us different, helpful hints about filmmaking and, give us all this, different information. And one week he talked about the 48-hour film project. And he explained how he had been participating for at least the year before, maybe 2 years even. He may have been doing it from the start. But explained how fun it was, and he really was trying to get students together for the following summer to, make these movies. And I thought, oh, that sounds really cool. I will never do that in a million years. Because who can stay up for 2 days straight? I was like, nope, not for me at all. So then summer rolls around, and, my friends from school were like, hey, are you going to join the team? And I was like, oh, I don't think so. Come on. So by total peer pressure, I joined the team. And we had a pretty good sized team, and so everyone kind of had their own position, and so I kind of came on as location manager, and that is one of the things you can do with the 48 is find locations in advance. So I did that, and the producer and team leader kind of saw that I was taking initiative on stuff, and so the following year he kind of took me under his wing to teach me a little bit about producing, and I stayed with that team for several years and did a lot of projects with them. And then eventually kind of had a team of my own. And actually in the last couple years, I went down to Cleveland to participate in their horror 48 when they weren't doing it in Detroit. Because I love making horror films, especially.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I mean, that's the whole point of the show is horror. So, yeah, we'll definitely get into that. So you just did mention that the Detroit market didn't have the horror 48 for a while. So why is that? So
the first year that they had it, our team did participate when I was with Midnight Oil, and we had a good time. The film was not the best, but it was still a lot of fun. And then by the next year, our team, we had signed up to do it again, but they just did not get enough teams to sign up, and it got canceled. And that was 5 years ago, and it hasn't been back since.
Until
now.
Until this year, yeah. But so do you think? Well, what do you think was the cause of not a lot of people signing up? Do you think there was just not as much interest in the genre, or were people just not as excited to do it, or what?
I think it's really tough coming off the summer. In the summertime we get a lot of teams. This year we had 52 teams, and that's an average. 50 teams every year, and so doing one, it's a lot of work, and so. And that's in July, and by the time you have the awards and the screenings, it's August, and before you know it, you'd be needing to prep for the next one, in October. So there's really only a couple months of rest. I think that's a factor. I do think it's tough, too, because, in the summertime, you've got students who are off school. You have people who have time off work during that time. In October, school is back in session, and it can be tough to find the time to put into it.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. And you really need all of that time on that weekend.
You do.
To really do anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Just for some context, so what is the 48-hour film project, and what can people kind of expect if they do it?
Oh yeah, so the 48. It's not just a clever name. It is a project that is done in 2 days' time. So we kind of start by having a kickoff for the weekend, and when you come, usually a team leader. Sometimes you get like the writing team, maybe sometimes the whole team comes to kickoff, and we have elements that need to go in every film that we announce. So everyone has the same character with the same career. They have a line of dialogue and a prop that they need to use for the film during that weekend, just so we know that you did it in 2 days' time.
Right.
And then when people come, they also pull a genre from a hat. And so recently we've been doing it so you get 2 genres on a slip of paper, and you have the choice of whichever genre that is.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So that kind of, for the horror one, it's all horror genres, but in the standard 48-hour, you can get drama.
Anything, absolutely. Yeah, we even have some categories, superheroes and fish out of water stories, and we even had, this year was generation gap.
Oh, wow.
So it can really be very specific.
Yeah.
But then, for the horror, we had subgenres pulled. So we had things like vampire and cursed objects and haunted houses, slashers, and so just a ton of like really fun subgenres to choose from.
Nice. Awesome. So horror is a genre that you can draw in the standard 48.
Yes.
So why kind of separate that and give it its own 48? Because I find that's kind of interesting that no other genre kind of gets their own.
No, I think so too, and I think it's because this way you can really expand on it some more. With horror in the summertime, it's nice because you can choose anything. But I feel like with this, you can get very specific and get such a wide variety of films. And we did this year. We got all kinds of stuff. Coming back that maybe if you got it in the summertime, you wouldn't even think to be doing, something that has like, a cult theme or a cursed object theme to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I mean, it is kind of the season
Absolutely,
as well. So.
Yes. It is nice to do it during that time.
So do you find maybe that horror kind of allows for more, I guess, creativity, which is maybe why it has its own sort of version of the competition?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that people find the opportunity to get creative with the summer one. But I feel like when you're doing horror, I mean, the locations can really get detailed. The more makeup and more special effects. It gives you the opportunity to do those things if that's something that you're really into. Super cool costumes and things like that. I just feel like it could give you a little more opportunity to get really creative with it.
Okay, awesome. So were there any particular subgenres this year that you found kind of drew you in or maybe were a little better than the others?
I don't know. See, my thing, and when I've participated in the horror competitions before, I do it because I want blood.
Yeah, right.
I want to be making something that just has a ton of blood because when you're pulling comedy in the summertime or a fish out of water story, I'm sure you could find a place for blood, but not as much as you can with a horror film. So I feel like ones that because we have like a slasher subgenre and. I just think that kind of gives you an opportunity to really have a lot of fun with the special effects and the makeup aspect of it.
For sure. So was there a lot of blood in this year's?
I felt like there could have been more blood.
Oh, okay. I think there could always be a little more blood.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, and we did have a couple that they went for it though. Yeah, they really went for the blood aspect of it. So I think that's fun. That's
awesome. Yeah. So did you find that the kind of overall production qualities of the films as far as like the makeup and everything goes were pretty well done this year? Or did you feel like there's some room for improvements maybe?
I thought everyone did really well when it came to their special effects and their makeup. In fact, the team that took best makeup, I mean, they had like a team of people come in and really do some amazing things with the makeup and applying horns, and it was incredible. So yeah, I think people really went above and beyond when it came to that, which, that's the kind of thing I find to be extra cool about the horrors, because you can have that little bit of, creativity with it.
Right. And what team and what film was that won that award?
It was the Page Turner from Verna June Entertainment, which is led by Jeff Swarden.
Okay.
And they did an incredible job.
Awesome. So do you find that the Detroit area is a lot different in regards to like the level of film experience and creativity and everything, as opposed to like the other cities that do the 48?
So I like to think that Detroit is kind of has a leg up on a lot of the other competitors in other cities, just because, in 2008 when the film incentive came to town, you saw everyone, so many people started getting involved and went back to school or got training or, really somehow got involved with the film industry being here. So I think that we have an immense amount of talent in Detroit that's still here, even though we don't have that incentive anymore. The talent is still here. I see it in the 48s. I see it in other shorts and films, feature lengths that are coming out of Detroit. So I know that the talent is here. So I might be a little biased. Detroit has one of the best, cities when it comes to the 48, when it comes to talent. But I don't know how we couldn't. I just think that there's a lot of talent here in Detroit.
Do you think that do you find that there's still a lot of new filmmakers joining 48 as well, or is it mostly a lot of these older teams that, like you just said, kind of started their careers back in like 2008, around that time?
So I think we have a good combo of both.
Okay.
I found with the horror we had a lot of new people, which is awesome. Like, I love that. I welcome that. And then, we had some of our veteran filmmakers come back too, and they participated in the summer. They came back for this.
Nice.
And when we did have the one in the summertime, we kind of put it out there to see if there would be an interest for it, because I do love it, and I really was hoping to bring it back. There were a lot of teams that were from the summer, our veterans, that did come back, but I was excited to see how many new teams did join in for the Horror 48.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's safe to say that this year the Horror 48 was very successful.
Yeah.
But what was the process like trying to bring it back as a competition to Detroit?
So I think as a city in the summertime, or when you have your, all the cities, when they have their major 48, I think they really have to have a good turnout in order to have it like offered to you from our headquarters to do a specialty. And there's choices with the specialty. We could have chosen from not only just horror but sci-fi, which I think was done here a couple years ago. They just came out with an LGBTQ strictly festival, which I think would be really cool to do. They also have things like holiday 48s that you can be doing, but I mean, I'm a horror lover, so I really wanted to bring that back. And so that was really all there was to it. We had a successful summer, and they said, hey, do you want to do one of these? I was like, absolutely. That was kind of my goal when I got this position this year, was to bring that back.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So first of all, what is your personal experience with horror?
So I have loved horror films since I was a kid, probably before I should have even been allowed to watch them.
Yeah, or no.
I shouldn't have been, but I did. But yeah, I mean, so I'm an 80s kid. So, I can remember being like 9 years old and my friend having A Nightmare on Elm Street, and we would watch it, and I totally dug it. And, so we would go to the video store and like load up on all the 80s cheesy horror films, Pumpkinhead and Witchblade and, all that type of stuff. And as well as, your series of, Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th stuff and Halloween's, so I ate that stuff up, and I can't quite tell you exactly why. It was fascinating to me, and so it was really kind of one of the things that got me interested just in filmmaking in general. So it just, as we got out of the 80s and into the 90s, and now, I mean, the horror films, I think, have really, like, stepped it up. I mean, it's like leaps and bounds from what they were doing.
Yeah.
I still have a special place in my heart, for those, but the stuff they can do, that they are doing now, the stuff's scary. It's great.
Yeah. Well, what's your favorite horror film and why?
Of all time, I love The Ring, the adapted American version. But I think I like it the best because I really like the tone of it all, the creep factor in it. But I just love the way it looks.
Yeah.
It really kind of gets you and puts you in a mood and draws you in. So I'd have to say that's probably one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, as a cinematographer.
Yes.
Yourself, that
Yep.
makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So awesome, cool. Well, I just had to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you did kind of comment on horror films now.
Yeah.
So what is your opinion of where horror is at as a genre in the industry currently, indie or Hollywood or both?
Yeah. So I am totally digging the stuff that's coming out of Blumhouse right now.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they're doing. I just feel like the budgets are not huge, but the quality and the product that you're getting, the stories that are coming out of there are so amazing. And although it's not crazy gore factor necessarily, but the stories are so good and suspenseful and creative and fresh and new. So I'm loving that. I'm kind of an indie girl anyway, so when you see these indie horror films, like, I eat it up. I love it. It's great.
Are there any, I guess, negative trends kind of going on that you're not such a fan of?
I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, after a while, like, I guess it depends on, like, a series. I feel like, when you're doing, like I said before, Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, and even Halloween, like, I'm okay with that. But you lose something after a while. I'm a Saw fan, but they kind of lost me after 7 and 8, and
Yeah.
So I get it, money. It brings in the people to the theaters. I understand that, but I think it also loses a little something too.
Yeah. That's understandable. Do you find that there are certain trends that you see in horror feature films and in Hollywood that kind of leak even down into teams who are participating in the 48 and their films? Do you see certain things that you can compare?
Oh, like maybe influence-wise?
Sure, yeah.
I gotta be honest, I didn't see that. I felt like the stuff that was coming out of the 48 this year was nothing like I had seen in the theater. The stories were very original, actually. I know we talked a little bit about location earlier when it came to the page turner, but I found that a lot of people were really stepping out and finding these incredible locations that really put you into the film, that really drew you in. And I felt like because it was so original, I really couldn't. A lot of the films that are there now, I couldn't compare them to anything that I'm seeing in the theaters right now.
Okay. Or do you think that these feature films could maybe take a thing or two from the short films at 48?
Yeah, they should. And actually, when you look at some of the feature-length films that are out now, some of them have originated. They they were short story. Mama, right? That was a short. So absolutely. There were several films that we had this year that I think easily someone could adapt and make into feature length, no doubt. Yeah. In fact, I got into a couple discussions with people about how we were talking about very specific movies that were like, yeah, you could easily stretch that out to 90 minutes and be hooked completely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, the winner of the 48 does go to Filmapalooza.
Yes.
So, from there, what's the process like for them? Are there a lot of films that do get offered, money for feature length from that point?
It has totally happened before. So when all the top films from every 48 goes to Filmapalooza, and this year we'll be in Orlando, and they will take 10 to 15 of their top films from Filmapalooza and show them at the Cannes Film Festival,
Nice.
which is super exciting. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
And at Cannes they have a whole short festival, day over there. So the fact that they take 10 to 15 of our films is really exciting. And we have had filmmakers, we've had their stories picked up. I mean, just from making a 48. So I know some people will be like, oh, well, it's a film competition, or, and I think a lot of people, I have gotten some hims and haws about how much it costs to get into it. But the opportunity is there. It's not like any other film competition. Always have a good time. I want everyone to do that. But there is potential. And
Right.
even when you go to Filmapalooza, there's other filmmakers from all over the place. In fact, I was just talking to one of our judges who took first place a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
And when he went down, he made friends with other filmmakers. And apparently, the people from St. Louis came and helped with his film.
Oh, wow.
I mean, so there's so many opportunities there to network, and I just think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, networking is a really huge part of not only the film industry in general, but especially going to those festivals
Yes.
as well. So, yeah, that's huge. Has there been a lot of success from Detroit?
I don't think that anyone from Detroit has ever made it to Cannes. So
Okay.
we need to get someone from Detroit to make it to the
Yeah.
Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of talent here. I mean,
Yes.
what would you say could put one of these teams from the area over into like that level where they can get into Canada?
I think they just have to keep plugging away. I think it's good for competitors here to look and see what is winning elsewhere. I mean, I think in the U.S., a lot of our competitors, I mean, Europe and Asia, the stuff that they are creating at their 48s, I mean, it's pretty incredible. So I would suggest to people here in Detroit who are interested in the 48 is to watch some of those films. And you can go online and check them out and just kind of see,
Yeah.
what is it that they're doing. And I know it can be done here. I've seen the things that come out of here. So it totally can be done.
Yeah, I mean, even at like the feature length level, when I watch horror from overseas, I do find that it is vastly different, even if it might look similar.
Yes.
With themes and just how they approach cinematography and lighting, it's way different. So from what you've seen from, not in the United States, is there anything like in particular that you would say maybe teams might need to kind of start thinking about to reach that level?
I think a lot of focus needs to be on story.
Okay.
And location. It does make a world of difference. If you are filming in your mom's basement or in your apartment dining room, it sometimes takes you out. Don't get me wrong. There's stories that need that. But if you take it up another level and really actually go beforehand, before that weekend, and scope out some really cool locations. When you find that stuff, it may, you can take those locations to your writers and say, this is what we have to work with. And then it really opens up their mind when it comes to story. And so that's the kind of thing I'm seeing. I mean, we had people shooting with cell phones last year,
Oh, yeah.
and it can be done. But if the story isn't there, then it's not going to work out. So you don't need the expensive equipment. You don't need to get all. You don't need to have a huge team necessarily. But I would definitely suggest take time when it comes to writing and your location scouting.
Yeah, it is hard in 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah.
To really do it, but I think that short films are really on the up and up, and I think in horror specifically. I mean, in your opinion, would you say that short films in the horror genre are even more important than maybe other films as far as like kind of getting into the genre and into the industry? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, if you can create an excellent story in 5 minutes, then it's going to be easy to expand that into 90 minutes. I mean, if you can get people scared and wanting more in that amount of time, then yeah, absolutely. Then I think it's a great way to begin, a great way to start small, and then see where you can go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I saw online, and you were telling me earlier, I think the first place team from this year, that was their first time doing the 48.
Yeah, this year, yep.
Yeah, I mean, did you talk to them, kind of get their experiences doing it?
So, yeah, the first time they actually tried it was in the summer, and they ended up winning best musical score, and I believe they won best in their genre. But then it was kind of like as if they were like, okay, well, we got our feet wet a little here. Now we know what they're looking for. And they came back, and it was just incredible. So I don't think that they were necessarily expecting it, but it was an amazing project. So they totally deserved it.
Great. Well, I mean, out of all the projects that came through this year, did you see a lot of similarities with all the different films, or were there a lot of differences? I guess what I'm asking you is how did you find that people approached their films this year for the competition?
So I don't think I really saw too many similarities, and I think that's the great part about having the subgenres. We very rarely had people doing the same topic. So our character this year, you could choose between Phil or Philippa Carter, and they had to be an insurance broker. Okay. So I will say there was definitely an insurance theme to a lot of our films. But even in those, I mean, you still got so many differences. So it wasn't, you didn't get bored from seeing the same thing over and over and over again. Everyone had their own uniqueness about it. Okay,
cool. Yeah, because, I mean, in horror specifically, I think a lot of people's gripes with it, maybe is that you see so many of the same kind of cliches.
Sure.
Especially when it comes to, like, Hollywood productions. Even Blumhouse, I guess, is subject to that.
Sure.
So what do you think is it about the 48 or about doing a short film that kind of detracts from that, or maybe, I guess, forces you to think outside the box?
Oh, the time limit. Yeah. I mean, you don't have a lot of time to think about it. And so people get freaked out when they hear that you have to do it in 2 days' time. I was one of those people. But now that I've experienced it, I feel that that's almost the bonus of it all. I'm a procrastinator in my life, right? So I don't do well unless, I'm under pressure. So it's amazing what can come out when you're feeling that pressure. There might be creative ideas in you that you had no idea until, you're faced with it. So I think that is a positive thing about this, and it gets people really, on their toes and thinking about new and unique ideas.
Okay. Yeah, very awesome. Because, I mean, I could probably see how, with such a small amount of time to write, shoot, and edit, and submit an entire film, it might be kind of easy for people to think, well, we could probably just shoehorn in some basic ideas and some, standard camera angles and stuff like that. But yeah, it sounds like people weren't really doing that. And I mean, did you find, as far as even the music and the camera work and stuff like that it was pretty dynamic this year with entries?
I think it was. And I was amazed at how many people did original music. Because that is a question that gets asked when everyone's all done. How many people have original music? I couldn't believe it. I mean, I would say most of our teams had original music, which is awesome. And that's something you can definitely do beforehand. But there were people who were, on the spot. It was being written, and as it was being filmed, the musicians are off making a soundtrack to a 5-minute short. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, that must be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
In a 2-day span. I've never, personally, done it, but Well, we have worked with a composer who did
Yes.
original music for our short. So
Yeah.
that's crazy. I mean, do you think that that's one of the biggest elements of these short films that kind of might push them over the top? Because we've talked about music and cinematography before on the show and how important they are.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, when because you're doing some of the judging as well for
I monitor the I mean, don't get me wrong, I always have my opinion about things. I mean, in the end, the judges are the ones who decide, but yeah, I mean, I definitely get to be in there during the process.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, what do you look for, I guess, when in your head you're thinking, oh, this might be first place or second place or third place?
Yeah. So if the story makes sense, for sure. I mean, have you ever watched anything and then at the end you go, what happened? And it can look cool too, and you still go, what happened? I don't understand. So I think I noticed with the judges this year, they chose things that they understood from beginning to end, and that can be very difficult during a 48 time, and we've seen it before. You know, you can get into the story and you don't know how to get out in 5 minutes. It can be really challenging, but I didn't see that much at all this year. But I would say that the films that took top, they had a complete story in, I would say like 6 minutes time. And then the cinematography was a huge factor this year. The first two films, I know for sure, it was really neck and neck because the cinematography was just out of this world. There is a drone shot in the movie. Housekeeper is the name of the film that took first from Bat Boys. There's a drone shot that I felt like that day, like they shot, I think, on Saturday of the weekend. I don't remember the day being as beautiful as they were able to capture. It was incredible. And so that shot really kind of put it over for the judges. And we're seeing a lot of drones being used now, even during the 48. But I would say that even the music, yes, especially with horror, right? I mean, that can really put you in the scene that you're in. So it's highly important. And so coming up with something original, and even if you don't, I think music choice is super important to really put you, in that mood of how you want your audience to feel. Right,
yeah. So I guess, did you see a lot more serious tones to these horror films? Because we actually participated in a different horror festival last year, the Horror Film Roulette, and we saw that a lot of films were kind of leaning more toward the comedy side of things, and all of the elements present in those films definitely kind of contributed to that, which is obviously great, but horror as a genre itself is really kind of all about building tension and everything. So did you think that was very successful with this year's entries, or?
I would say we had half and half. Okay. We had a lot of funny films, but the top three didn't have humor really in them. And so, I mean, with Bat Boys' film Housekeeper, I believe it was a supernatural film. The Bequeath that took second was like a cursed object and isolation, and then the third one was like a slasher film. So they all went serious, and it worked. Now we had some really funny films too. In fact, we had an award this year for we made it best splat stick as opposed to slapstick, and we had a film called Roar, the grease paint, that took it, and it was very funny. In fact, I found it to be very clever. They kind of their genre was clown, and so everyone assumes that they're clowns are creepy and scary, that it would be the clowns that were the the menacing thing of the story, but they actually flipped it around. There was someone else going around and killing clowns, so which added kind of a funny element to it, and the deaths were very creative. They also took Best Death Scene, the award
Okay,
for Best
nice.
Death Scene. They had several really great death scenes. But yeah, I noticed that too a lot with 48. So a lot of people put humor in all their films, no matter what genre they get. They like to add a little bit of humor to them. So
Between the comedic horror and I guess the more serious horror, you know, why do you think that the more serious horror is kind of viewed, I guess, in a better light critically versus the comedic horror films?
I think people want to go to get scared. And there's nothing funny about that.
Right.
I mean, I guess you can find it, but I think people like the tension, right? You want to go, you want to be at the edge of your seat. You don't necessarily want that tension broken by a joke or a funny moment. And some of the classic horror films do have those moments.
Right.
But, you know, they know what they're doing. It does take you out of that, whatever that is. So I think if you want scary horror, then you want that intensity. You want the seriousness of it.
Do you think there's almost too much humor in horror? At least, I guess, either in the short film competition circuit, the 48, and also in Hollywood and in the independent scene.
It can be. I recently saw, was it Happy Death Day? Yep, I watched that. And though, I mean, I enjoyed that, but it definitely had like a funny element to it all. It was still a good film, but I wasn't necessarily on the edge of my seat when I watched that. So I don't think they get overboard with it, with the comedy, but I think for me, I prefer to not have it. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, just because of the mood it sets and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you're talking about the clown thing. I kind of wanted to lead into discussing kind of these more socially conscious horror films, because we are seeing that a lot now with the bigger companies.
Yes.
In Hollywood and even in the independent scene, I feel like it's pretty saturated with these socially conscious horror films. Why do you think that it's, I guess, developed in that way in recent years?
I guess I feel they wanted to try just something a little bit different. I mean, a lot of them are it's very smart. And it reaches out to maybe an audience that isn't necessarily like a classic horror fan. It brings in a whole other, group of people into horror.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that would be and it's working, right? I mean, people are going to see these films.
Is that like a trend that is that a trend that you expect to keep going as the years go on? And would you suggest to somebody who's thinking about doing the 48 or the horror edition to kind of focus on those kind of elements?
I would love to see that in a 48. So actually when before I became producer last year, we had gone down to Cleveland to create a film. One of my team members had said, that's what she went into this going, this is what I want to do. It's very tricky to do in 5 minutes, but it can be done. We ended up not doing it. But that was like her thing. She was like, I want to be doing something like that. So I am all for it. I would love to see that in a short. I think that'd be great fun.
Is that almost more important than just delivering scares or delivering a suspenseful, creepy atmosphere to you?
I think it adds a uniqueness to your story, going down that road. But I don't necessarily think it's necessarily as important. I think in the end, as long as you have a great story and if you deliver some scares, fantastic,
Yeah, because we've been seeing movies like, Get Out and everything. And even we just recently covered on the show Cam that premiered on Netflix.
Yep.
Very clear and heavy themes in both of those films.
Yep.
And it seems like that's kind of the direction that horror is going in. And yeah, honestly, when I've watched short films pretty recently in the horror genre, it seems like it's mostly this kind of like isolated event sort of, and we're not really exploring the messages so much,
Mm-hmm.
and I almost feel like if there was more of that, then it might help people kind of get exposed more.
Yeah.
Do you feel kind of the same way?
I do. I think people are probably afraid to even try it and try to do it in such a short amount of time. But I believe it can totally be done. And I think that'd be great to see more of that in shorts.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it does seem like that's kind of going to be the trend, because when you look back at even like Mama,
Yep.
or like the Drew Daywalt short films and stuff like that, there really isn't that heavy of a message. I mean, in fact, in a lot of those short films, there's not even really that much dialogue.
Yes, exactly.
But now in Hollywood and in the bigger independent scene, where we are seeing a lot of that. So yeah, I guess I'm curious to see what is going to happen in the 48 and other competitions moving forward. So I mean, do you think that that's going to become like a really huge thing?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. I can see people going, right along with that trend. I mean, why not? It's very successful right now in Hollywood. So I think I could easily see other filmmakers, even doing shorts, going for it.
What other advice would you maybe give to not only newcomers, but also to returning teams who are planning on doing the 48?
Pre-production is huge. There really are quite a few things you can do beforehand, and if you have a well-executed plan, it makes your weekend go so much smoother. If you jump into it that Friday night, not having a place to film, not knowing what you're doing or even discussing any of it, it can make for a long weekend, and it's hard because you have to give your editor as much time as possible and factor in that drive time to to get to drop off. So do as much as you possibly can beforehand. And there's nothing wrong with getting a writing team together and discussing. I mean, we put the genres out there on the website so you can see in advance what your choices could be. Go through the list. Throw out some thoughts. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That way you're not so hung up, because no matter what happens, even if you're thinking of ideas, the minute you get your elements and your subgenre,
it's go time.
It is, and so you end up coming up with something, maybe even something different than you would have beforehand. But I think it's good to have a team that's cohesive, that works together really well. I've heard horror stories of people who don't get along. That's going to make things really tough. So I know, like for the Bat Boys, these guys work together outside of doing 48s. And so I've noticed with filmmakers, and being a filmmaker, when you have a group of people that you work with regularly, sometimes you don't even have to speak, right? You just look at them, or you say something and they go, I got you. I understand exactly what you're saying. And then they just do it. So when you have that makes a world of difference. Having said that, though, I don't want to discourage people who are new to filmmaking or may not know everyone super close that they're working on their teams. I say go for it anyway. I mean, have fun with it, really, because that's what this is about. Have a good time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I was going to say, I know that the industry itself is becoming a lot more technologically advanced, obviously, even in the short film world. We're seeing lots of short films, even in the competitions, that are tremendously produced, not even just on the money aspect, but just with experience and everything. And I'm sure it might be pretty intimidating for new filmmakers entering these competitions, but I mean, I think it's a phenomenal experience. And I mean, what do you think is the thing that people can get the most out of when doing a competition like the 48?
I do believe you can learn a lot by doing things in a 48. Because I've had so many people go back and they're like, okay, well, if I just would have done this differently. I mean, you can look back and see where, maybe you had made some mistakes. But I think actually being put under that kind of pressure, it's amazing what comes out of you when you are on, a time crunch. So I feel like it's an excellent learning experience. I mean, because really, if you're working in the industry, you're going to be, obviously you're going to have more than 2 days, but you're always going to be under deadlines, right? I mean, so if it's a school project to a, multi-million-dollar budget film, you're always going to be under kind of that pressure. So I feel like this is just nothing but like training. If you can make it through 48 hours, you know, you can do anything.
Yeah. Do you think that the horror 48 in particular is maybe a little more, I guess, conducive to like new filmmakers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, especially if you love the genre. I mean, absolutely. Go for it. I mean, there's just so much room for creativity there.
Yeah. But do you find that there are a lot of people who maybe aren't huge fans of the horror genre that do it as well?
No, I actually don't. I think everyone who does it wants to be there. They're doing it because they love it. Because I did, you know, there were teams from the summertime that I spoke with and said, hey, you know, you're gonna come back and do this? They're like, nope, I don't do horror. Like,
yeah.
No, even actors I was like, hey, we got to get you involved in this. Nope, I don't want to be scared. So I mean, it's definitely, you know, I'm gonna always have the people who come out for the horror. There's people who won't even do it during the summer, but they'll come out and they'll make because they just love horror films, right?
Yeah.
But then you're gonna have the opposite of that. You know, there might be people who just never touch it, but I love it, and I hope to keep building it up. I'm hoping to see more teams come out for it next year. Because it's just a ton of fun.
Yeah. Do you find that the horror fans are more, well, I don't want to say like crazy about it.
Oh.
But, you know.
Maybe more fanatical?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we definitely have our teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you have your teams that are there because they just enjoy the challenge. They want to challenge themselves. But I think the people who come out to do the horror, they love it. They do it because they love it.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
for
sitting down with me. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap it up here?
Well, I hope to see everyone come out, and maybe even if you aren't one to participate, you know, come out next year. Just come see the films. We're going to be at the Main Art Theater in Royal Oak. So we'll have our regular competition in July of 2019, and then would love to have a horror in October. So we'll always have our films more than likely at the Main Art. So
awesome. So is the appearance of the horror 48 hour kind of reliant on how many people come out for the summer one?
It does.
Okay.
I'm confident that we're gonna have our teams come out for the summertime. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, where can people learn more information about the 48?
So you can actually go online at 48hourfilm. /Detroit.com. And we have all the information on there. We have a Facebook page, which is Detroit 48 Hour Film Project. And I always try to make sure to put all kinds of content on there as well. And then you can follow us on Instagram. We always put our pictures up of the, you know, whatever we're doing, you know, be it a kickoff or even behind the scenes pictures. So yeah, check us out on Instagram as well.
Awesome. And is there a particular place where the horror people can go to view that one?
Right now, we actually don't have anything online well, actually, that's a lie. You can actually go on the website. I was like, we don't have anything on YouTube or anything just yet, but we will have a few of our films on the website as well. So they can actually visit the website and be directed to the horror specific films on there.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's all the questions I have.
Okay.
So again, thank you so much for sitting down
Oh my
and
gosh,
talking
thank you. This is
horror
awesome.
and the 48 with us. So yeah, I think we're going to sign off. This is Barnabas, and I have been here with Jennifer Gentner of the 48-Hour Horror Film Project in Detroit. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we're back to Grave Discussions. I hope you all enjoyed that interview. I thought it was a really cool experience getting to talk to her about the competition and everything and about horror. She had some great insights and seemed like she was really passionate about the genre, so it was very cool.
That's good.
Yes. So right now we're going to get into our last part of the episode, our review of The Possession of Hannah Grace. So, all right, I wanna get your honest opinion here first, Samael.
I probably would be inclined to discuss this movie more in depth if when we went to the fucking theater, there wasn't some asshole and his girlfriend and then her friend that were talking like, bro, they were talking like playground during elementary school days. That was their voice level. Like, the whole movie. The only time it stopped is when the dude went to go take a piss or get some nachos or whatever that fat fuck did.
It was so annoying because he was gone like half the movie, and then his like girlfriend or whoever it was left a couple times too. Like, what are you doing,
bro? I fucking hate people like that.
It was we got really heated about it.
You wanted to pay $11 each to just sit and have a discussion about a movie as it's happening,
and ruin everybody else's night because you won't shut the fuck up.
Everyone kept looking at them, but everyone's like, you know what? Fuck those people. I'm not even gonna.
No one wanted to stoop down to their level, which I get, but at the same time, like, next time I just have to say something because that shit is annoying.
I wanted to shank him, bro.
I'm not a violent person, but anyway, that was awful. We just wanted to say that because my opinions, at least, are a little bit influenced by that entire event. Yeah. So just wanted to say that.
Still though. Let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about the actual movie, not the experience.
Yeah, we could talk about that all day.
I mean, we were hungry too. We didn't have nachos or popcorn.
Yeah, I was hangry.
I didn't have a drink. We're just like, fuck it, bro. But so the movie starts off and like there's this chick. Oh, spoiler alert, fuckers. So the movie starts off. She's getting possessed. Her dad's just like, no, may Jesus, whatever. And then then the priest comes in. He's like, may Jesus. Whatever, and then like two of the priests die. Like she like explodes them with her like telekinesis or whatever the fuck she did,
demon powers.
And then her dad smothers her with a pillow. Spoiler alert. So now her dead body's at this morgue, and there's this chick like she works at the morgue. She used to be a cop, and then she's like all fucking freaked out because like weird shit keeps happening to her throughout the night. There's this like security guard with a little Jufro, and he keeps scaring the shit out of people. And then there's the other security guard. He's a douchebag, but when she needed files, he gave her files and shit. Yeah. And I don't know. I like that this movie was like isolated, and I like that it happened just like overnight. I don't like the movies that are like, here's him tying his shoes. Whoa, what was that? Something moved. 5 weeks later. A door closed. Then like 20 minutes later, you're on to the next scene. It was like, nah, this is all right now. This is not a haunting movie where it progresses. It was just like.
I mean, sometimes it works, in like The Conjuring, stuff like that. But yeah, I generally like these kind of movies because then you're more invested in what's happening. Dude,
as soon as I heard Night Shift, I was like, yes, I am bought into this movie. Like,
exactly.
Glad I came.
So that was definitely a positive of the film for me as well. A lot of the rest of it, not so much, honestly. But I want to hear the rest of like your opinions on it. What else did you like about it?
Okay, there wasn't much to the score. I like the cinematography. It was they did a good job of building up suspense. I'll give it to that. I'll give that to them. Holy shit! I was about to have a fucking aneurysm, but wow. But yeah, I like the cinematography. It was like it wasn't like too overdone. Like didn't have those like up above shots where the cars are riding down a dirt road. You're just like, wow, look at the view. The view is so beautiful. Look at the cinematography. It was just like your basic shit, but like it was funny when you'd see like the fucking Hannah, the possessed Hannah. And by the way, when she's possessed, she has blue fucking eyes. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
What is that fucking?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hitler's wet dream demon. Like that's what that looked like.
Probably.
Blue eyes, blonde hair. There you go.
Yeah.
It's the Aryan race. That's a metaphor.
That's the real message of the film right there.
The real message is like it's something angry and in German probably, but I don't know. I liked it. I liked the what's her name? Was it Megan, right?
Yeah.
I liked Megan. She was cool. Her boyfriend was like borderline fucking useless until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, he just comes in like, did you steal my drugs? Are you okay? It's your fault I left. Like you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
So they kind of he's just used to kind of develop her character. Like, see, she used to be a cop. This is her relationship, and you're like, oh, I see. Thank you very much. Like,
yeah, she is the main character, so they really focus on her, which makes sense.
Yeah, and she has like PTSD after watching like her partner get killed, and she froze up. And basically, bad shit starts happening, and then someone tries to sneak into the fucking morgue, right? I'm not going to say who it was. Someone tries to sneak into the fucking morgue, and then we find out who it is. He kills people, he gets caught, and then he kills people again, and then we find out that the body's been moving around by itself, and then people start dying again, and then I mean, it was pretty like, I felt like it was a little bit longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they almost put too many characters into this, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it could have been like one security guard and then just weird stuff started happening.
Yeah,
I don't even know about all those other people.
They brought in all these people just to die.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was more realistic.
Basically, guys, everyone but Megan, like, if you're rooting for them, you're not gonna have a good time. Like,
yeah. So my kind of like gripes with all the characters and stuff like that was just that they really felt useless. Like they felt like they were just thrown in there for deaths. Like a lot of people are comparing this movie to The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which
it's not
actually
similar,
yeah. But I will say, I was just gonna say
the idea though.
In The Autopsy of Jane Doe, yeah, it's kind of similar, but there's only like those two guys.
Yeah.
And then like the body, right? Like that's it. So in a situation like that, in an environment like that, maybe, I don't know if it's quite as realistic, but I don't know. It just felt like way tenser to me. Like it didn't feel like there were just random characters there just for on-screen deaths and jump scares.
And that one had like more mystery to it. Like it just kept unfolding as it progressed. Like this one was just like, oh no, this thing's getting up and doing shit. Like you just haven't seen it. But at first I was like okay with it because like I was irritated, so I'm like, let me just watch the movie and like forcefully enjoy it to block these assholes out. And it made me ignore how bad the CGI was.
Yeah, I didn't like the CGI at all, and I felt like it was definitely a little much.
They needed like
even like her movements were CGI.
That's
sometimes.
why I was gonna say, like, don't, like, when the corpse is like moving and doing shit, don't expose it so much. Use some lighting, like make it darker in there, and like just have someone, like, you just see the shadow even up close, like just the fucking little shadow. Put makeup on the bitch, you know, make her like white as hell. Oh look, it's the possessed chick, and then that's it.
This is just a bad trend. Like, I don't mind if you're showing her that much, but make it creepier, you know? Like, it was kind of creepy sometimes, I think, just because of the angles, but...
Then it looked like a video game character.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, is this some kind of, like, Resident Evil type shit where they're actually, like, putting the video game characters in there or something, you know?
And then at the end, the resolution to this movie was, get the strap, like... what the fuck?
Yeah, there were some very questionable writing decisions for me. I didn't really care for any of the characters. I wish that there were fewer of them, or they just weren't in the movie so long. I don't know. Like their purpose was just like completely irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
You know, like you could have made it just about Megan and then her like frame of mind and her experiencing this haunting and everything. And I think that probably would have been way creepier. Maybe too similar to The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
It had like... I could do with more atmospheric setting. It was pretty good, but like shit kept happening like too much, I think, for me. Like,
yeah. Like, so you feel like this could have almost been a slower movie?
Yeah, like, and like with less, like you said, less characters, a little slower, and not as long, I think. It could have been done a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I wish that they just, I mean, there were a couple scenes in there where the CGI usage was like obvious because they had to, but there were so many scenes where like if they just used a normal person that could like, you know, contort their body and stuff and like spider walk or whatever.
Like that one
dude
from Insidious that plays the lipstick demon.
Yeah.
Or Mama, right?
Yeah, Javier Botet.
Yeah, him. He does everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, they do all that stuff. Like, you could have found a person to do that, but you just decided to go the cheap route, and that made me not like your movie as much.
Yeah.
For me, anyway. And then I just thought that the script like wasn't that good.
I thought it was lazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there was a lot going on. That's what made it lazy. Like, hey, let's just throw everything fucking... So it was like, now here's this next scene. All right, this is happening now. Hey, who's that guy trying to break in? Bitch, let me in! And then, like, all of a sudden, like, the body's moving around. Yeah. And then the guy's in. And then now he's getting arrested. Now he's back. Now the body's moving. It's ripping someone up inside the fucking...
Yeah, there's a lot of, like...
It's like, damn, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's just a lot of scenes that I feel like...
You had, like, no time to go get, like, popcorn if you wanted. You'd miss something, like...
Yeah. Yeah, something would happen, which, I mean, it's not like that bad all the time, but eventually it just doesn't, it's not scary.
Yeah.
Like the first or second time, honestly, it was like a jump scare kind of, but
I mean, it didn't make me...
Still.
Usually, like, if a movie's good, like the way the music is and like the setting and the way they use the camera and like the angles, like, and like how they build suspense, like, I'll get tensed up and I'll be like nervous and shit. But like for this movie, I was just like, all right, let's see the jump scares.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. This is great. Like I was just kind of chuckling throughout the whole movie, like, wow, this is great. Like, because it wasn't like bad. It was good bad.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. So Shay Mitchell, who plays Megan Reed, I thought she had an okay performance. I didn't really care for anybody else's performance in this. So that was like the one positive kind of, but also a big negative for me.
It's because you care about these people just as much as you would care about like a stranger you see at the liquor store, because like that's how well you know both of them. Like,
right.
And like, you know, you don't delve into their home life and shit like that. So like, we didn't give a fuck about any of these people. Oh, he's an ambulance driver. He's trying to provide for his family. He's sober. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone should be doing that if they have a family.
Yeah, I didn't need all those like sappy emotional discussions really. Like I didn't feel like it was about that, because actually this kind of leads into what I wanted to say. I saw a Redditor post that this movie didn't really have that many religious themes for being a demonic possession movie, which I thought was actually kind of interesting. The only like real reference to it is like the lights. I don't know if you noticed, but the lights in the morgue are like cross shaped,
upside down cross. I saw it in the security footage. Yeah, I remember.
But that's about the only real like reference to religion, apart from the kind of shitty demonic possession scene at the beginning of the film.
Yeah,
that's about it. So there's not really any other like religious themes or angles in this movie. So I mean, it's kind of hard to distinguish what is the message almost, but that's just
the
kind of how I feel.
message is clearly, if your daughter's possessed, don't smother her with a pillow, throw her out, and let the morgue check her out.
Well, I guess he probably didn't know. Anyway, yeah, there were definitely some positives and negatives. I mean, a positive I will give it is this: if you're looking for like a Saturday night movie to just kind of chill out with,
this is it. Yeah,
this is probably it, because it's not quite as shitty as like those really really bad like paranormal movies.
Like fucking, let me think of one.
Yeah, I mean they're out there. Poltergeist remake.
Yeah, that one.
There you go. You know, stuff like that. Like it's not as bad as those, but it's not like great. You know, it was just okay.
It wasn't a shitstorm, and it wasn't great at all.
Yeah, I know a lot of people think it was a shitstorm, but
it was kind of good. So it was mostly bad.
Yeah, I mean some of the like demon shots or whatever. Like some of those scenes, they were okay, but as a whole, I thought the movie was pretty bad. So that's me. If I had to give it a rating out of 5, I think I actually gave it 2.5.
That's what I was thinking, because 50% for me. That's the rating.
Yeah.
It's basically, I don't know what kind of movies you like. Go see it. You might like it. You might not. It's one of those movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, my big thing with it, a little too much CGI, kind of just typical, you know, like not super creative.
The only thing I really liked that was night shift morgue.
Yeah,
person getting up and walking and they're dead. I'm like, cool.
The whole vibe, I will say, is pretty cool. You know, it is a good setting, and the whole one night thing, that's all cool. I think the execution was kind of off.
Yeah.
And they could have made some better decisions, like maybe casting a contortionist or something, you know, to do the girl.
Because people that can actually do that are fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like actually weird, like not video game character.
I mean, it wasn't Linda Blair, but you know, that crab walk in The Exorcist, like that was a real person, you know, that did that. And that was like, that's one of the scariest scenes of all time. So I think they could have at least tried to do that, but overall, not a bad movie, but just kind of average.
Yeah, I would say it's below average, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it definitely has some redeeming qualities. I think, like I said, just something you can kind of turn on and be brainless about. I think there are definitely a lot of cliches in this, and just a lot of like unwanted conversations and little side things going on.
Yeah, that's when you can go like take a shit or do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, they just kind of complain the whole time.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know. That's basically how I feel about it. I mean, do you have anything else that you want to say about it?
No, I mean, if I were you guys, I'd wait till it comes out on Netflix or on like. Honestly, it's gonna come out on like Tubi TV. Yeah. Let's be real, or on like the free shit you get on Comcast. Like,
No, I think it'll probably come out on Netflix at some point or Amazon Prime. But honestly, like,
just wait until you don't have to pay for it.
yeah, because apparently this is the kind of movie that a bunch of like fucktards go to just to like ruin everybody's day and talk the whole time.
And it's like, bro, there was like maybe 14 people in the theater, and those 3 wouldn't shut the fuck up, and we're all sitting close to each other, so. It's like, I get it. If something happens, you'd be like, woo, be like. But if you're like, if the whole time you're just like, oh my god, look, look, oh my god, look, bye. Like, literally, that's the dialogue that was going on. Like,
yeah, I don't understand anything that they were saying.
Like,
So, and if you're a person that does that, I hope that there's a special place for you. You know where?
up your ass.
Oh.
Why don't you go sit on a knife?
That's a good suggestion.
Like a vertical knife, like grab the top of your door, bend your knees right, and then put the knife below your asshole vertically, and then just like let your hands go and just sit down while you're sitting at a 90-degree angle onto the knife all the way up your ass.
So that's our opinion of the possession of Hannah Grace. Not my favorite this year at all, but some of you might have really liked it. So let us know what you guys think about it, and you can do that by visiting our social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Grave Discussions, and on Twitter we're Gravedisc SRD, and we also have a website.
All right, well, we're gonna go watch Mandy. Am I gonna like it? I don't know. Find out next week on Grave Discussions.
This has been an SRD production.